Okay, time for a video. I'm back, folks. I threatened I might come back for important things, and today we're talking about something important in the news today. Actually, it could have been in the news from the first Trump administration as well. So this is kind of an ongoing thing, and I kind of care about the thing, but I kind of don't. The thing is symptomatic of a bigger thing, which I have talked about on this channel at least once before. So let me tell you what the news is saying, 2 news items, and then we'll talk about why this is actually important. We're going to climb out of the details, which is what I like to do, and we're going to talk about why this is important. Because what we're seeing right now, let's not bury the lead. What we're seeing right now is the death of climate science. An entire branch of science, basically Earth observations, is ending. And that sounds like hyperbole, and that sounds weird, and you can't say things like that, and I'm saying it. I'm calling it, and I was calling it before, and I'm telling you it's over, okay? It's part of the reason why I wrote my book, which is called It Was 100 Days, an End of Civilization novel. It really starts with the end of oil, which we are kind of seeing play out right now in the Persian Gulf with the kerfuffle around the Straits of Hormuz. And if yeah, more about that in a minute. But anyway, if you want a user's manual for what is actually coming and how you are going to suffer through it and how you might survive it, then you may want to grab the book. It's kind of a user's manual for that, and it is available at Amazon, priced to move. So I recommend you pick up a copy. To the topic. We'll turn that off. We'll turn this on. There it is. Oops, wrong screen. Okay. Let's just take a look. Let's take a look at the Earth system today. We all know there's a giant Godzilla El Nino coming, right? That's in the news all the time. They love scaring the piss out of you people. And it sells newspapers, it sells screen time. I have no idea why they're doing that. I mean, take it seriously because it's true. This is the Earth system. Let's look at the ocean. Let's look at sea surface temperatures. Okay, so the Earth ocean is hot. Let's unroll this, a different view. The Earth is a globe. Sorry, all you flat earthers out there, the Earth is a globe, but I'm going to unroll it to take a look at the whole thing. And this is the Earth's temperatures in the oceans. The oceans are hot at the equator. That's nothing new. But the temperature anomalies is a heat wave. We're having a ocean heat wave. I said this in prior videos. My last 2 videos have been about the El Nino and how that's forming on top of the global ocean heat wave. And the heat wave is still on. And you can see, let me grab my drawing tool. You can see right here that the region that is analyzed for the El Nino condition is cooking. It's cooking, and this is bad. Really bad. It's really bad. And you're going to find out. I mean, whatever. It doesn't matter what I say, right? It's going to be really bad. Too bad. Too bad, people. This is going to hurt. This is you're screwed. This is going to leave a mark. If you live in India, or you live in Central America, or you live in Europe, you live anywhere on the Mediterranean Sea, you live in the Arabian Peninsula, if you live in Southeast Asia or Australia, or you live in the northern part of South America, well, what can I say? Don't die. Right? Isn't that what I usually say? So we'll just start there. We'll start with that. Don't die. That's my recommendation. That is not why I'm here today. Although it's always fun to look at the El Nino. It's always fun to look at how bad things are getting. Yes, I'm probably losing my mind here, right here in South Bay. But anyway, it is kind of interesting. What I really want to talk about is 2 things. That's not it. Here it is. In the news of late, in Trump's second term, he is continuing a process that he started in the first term. He is dismantling the OOI, the Ocean Observatory Initiative, I think is what it's called. The National Science Foundation, which paid for the 25-year project to monitor the deep ocean. 25-year project is being taken apart in the first few years. The money spent. The grants were allocated, the money was spent, and after less than a decade, they're tearing it out. They don't have to tear it out, really. I mean, it's just sort of running now, right? It's like having a big telescope, and you're going to be looking at the stars with this big telescope. You know, you've already built the telescope. It's an ocean observatory, but you've already built the observatory. So just use it. It's there. It's a tool. Take advantage of it. But no. We have to get rid of it. And they'll tell you, oh, it's budget constraints and all that. I mean, they're spending $1 billion a day bombing the sweet Jesus out of Iran. $1 billion a day. But that budgets. Don't talk to me about spending money on an ocean observatory. No. Budgets. That's where we are, folks. That's the level of fucktardedness we're dealing with these days. So if that bothers you, then be bothered by it. Because here we are, folks. We are on glide path to completely fuck ourselves. The National Science Foundation is planning to remove hundreds of ocean monitoring instruments that they just barely put in the ocean yesterday from 4 sites in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. They already moved some from some other place a little while back. And I don't know. What are they doing here? Okay, we know what they're doing. I'm going to talk about what they're doing, okay? They're killing climate science. But let's get back to the news. So here it is. This is the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. And what can I say? Here they're doing this. There you go. The announcement followed the abrupt dismissal of the entire National Science Board. See, it's not like the Science Board was all on board with this. And then they said, oh, we're going to pull these out of the ocean. They first dismissed the entire National Science Board, the advisory committee to the National Science Foundation. They got rid of them. And let me make another prediction here. Oh, here's a hard one. Here's a really hard prediction to make. Oh, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go out on a limb. The National Science Board will now be reconstructed, packed full of denialist, Trump-selected, completely unqualified people. Non-science people, don't care about research, have no relationship with academia. It'll be real estate agents and casino operators and trucking companies. You know the bunch, right? The usual bunch of idiots. Well, just like in the cabinet, just like the Trump cabinet is full of idiots. This National Science Board will be packed full of people who are not scientists. And why is that? Because their sole purpose now will be to completely dismantle the National Science Foundation. Going out on a limb here, risking my reputation. Going out on a limb here, risking my reputation to say they're going to dismantle the National Science Foundation. And if they leave the foundation there so that it can still be a budget item, they will take all the money away from it. And they'll redistribute it back out into their pet projects, right? More money for coal companies, more money for oil subsidies, and so they'll leave the name, the National Science Foundation, but they probably won't even lease the building. They'll probably just send all the scientists home, send everybody home. We don't have a National Science Foundation. It's just a budget item. It studies corn crops. That's all it does, and otherwise, and it runs out of some podunk little Chamber of Commerce in Nebraska. Okay, that's where the National Science Foundation will be. The whole thing will be in Nebraska, and all it's going to do is analyze corn crops. Okay, and so that's it. It's done. Going out on a limb here, risking my professional reputation, and saying that that's what they're going to do. Quickly, I think. They've basically pulled the trigger. It's done. It's over. Now, why are they doing that? Interesting, all right? Interesting. I'll get to that in a minute. In other news, a judge says, this was a week ago. It makes you want to cry, really. A judge said the Trump administration can't dismantle the Weather Research Center. The damage may already be done. Okay, so the other thing they did back in March was they gutted and defunded and dismantled the National Center for Atmospheric Research. Hey, that could be important. Atmospheric research. I mean, we have global heating. We've got the greenhouse effect. We've got El Nino. We should really be increasing funding to our atmospheric research people. They're really important now. They're going to give us all the goods. They're going to give us all the news, right? This is what's happening. This is what's impacting. This is what's coming. This is what you should be worried about. We need policy. We need more grants. We need more studies. We need more satellites. But we really need policy. Prepare people for this. This is coming, you know? But no, they defund it and they dismantle it. Why? The Trump administration said that it was the most alarmist department in the U.S. government. The National Center for Atmospheric Research was alarmist. As well they should be. I mean, under the circumstances. But no, it's a budget problem. Actually, they even said it. They're alarmist. So fuck them. Fuck them sideways. They're alarmist. Can't have this. Can't have them. They're alarmist. Well, look, you know, our situation with the climate and with the global heating is alarming. It really is. I can say a lot more about that. I guess I will have to say more about that. But it is alarming. And when people start to, how should I put this? Let's use a word that rhymes. When people start to sky in large numbers, am I making myself clear? When people start to sky in large numbers, there's going to be an emergency. So, we shouldn't be hamstringing ourselves in our response to this emergency, because when large numbers of people around the planet start to sky, it's going to be a problem. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong about that. Maybe it's not a problem. But it might be, right? It might be a problem. But no, we have to defund these things. Now, the title of this video is that climate science is dead. I probably should have done some research. I probably should be keeping a long list of all the signs that climate science is dead. But I'm not going to bother. I'm not that committed to this topic. I don't even do these videos hardly anymore. I won't do another one of these videos for a month. Dislike the video, unsubscribe. I don't care. All right. Here I am doing what I do. But I'm telling you, climate science is dead. It's dead. They're dismantling the NCAR because it's too alarmist. They're pulling up by the roots, the buoys they've already put on the ocean floor as an ocean observatory. They're pulling them up. Barely got their feet wet. Barely been put in the water. And they're already pulling them up. They have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords. They have pulled the U.S. scientists, who are funded by the U.S. government, out of the IPCC process. The COP process, Conference of the Parties, which is also related to the global response to climate change, has been gutted. It basically, these days, it's only run by the fossil fuel industry countries. So the last couple have been in what? Kuwait and Saudi Arabia or some crap like that. I mean, why are you even having these COPs at these countries that are, completely, embedded in the oil infrastructure? Because they're just trying to tell you. They're laughing at you behind their hand. You think you're going to get any action on global heating and climate change? You think so? We have the oil companies running the entire show. They're laughing at you. They're laughing in your face like your children. They don't care. They don't care about any of this. Actually, they do care. They care a lot. And what they care about is that any part of this is being discussed in the public sphere. That any part of this is being revealed to the public. And the governments of the world, and it's more visibly the U.S., but the others are doing the same thing. I mean, all the governments of the world signed on to the last couple of COPs being held in oil-producing countries. Everybody signed on with that, okay? Because they knew that the host countries would make sure that the message that came out of that event would be, everything's fine, nothing to worry about here, no changes required, let's not overreact, let's take our time, let's research it some more. And after they say let's research it some more, let's take this seriously, well then they defund the scientists. So on the one hand, they're saying we need more time to reflect on this and research this. We need more data, more study, more simulations, more models, more papers. And then they go and they defund all that. They pull the buoys out of the ocean. They bring the satellites down. More study, more grants, and then they make that impossible. They know exactly what they're doing, people. They're killing climate science. And you think I'm over the top, it's hyperbole, what do I know? They're killing climate science. They're all doing it. And I did a video on this about a year ago, okay? So it has the same title. If you want to go watch it, you go ahead. But you're going to get the same information today because it's the same problem. It's just a year later, all right? They're killing climate science. And why do they do that? They have to do that. Them killing climate science, but the last time I did this video a year ago, I said why they're killing climate science. At the time I said they have to kill climate science. They are going to kill climate science. They must do that. They have no choice now but to kill climate science. And it's a year later. And they're going at it, hammer and tongs, killing climate science. Climate science is dead. There will be no climate science. Or if it is, it's just made up. It's climate science done by the oil companies, okay? It'll be climate science done by the oil companies. And what's it going to say? It's going to say the global heating is caused by sunspots. Actually, there is no global heating. They'll say there's no global heating. There's no climate change. Nothing is happening. It's all natural. And it's not even natural. It's just not happening. If you think you have data that the earth is getting hotter, you're wrong. You're a domestic terrorist. You can't have data like that. It's not happening. There's no science behind this. They're just going to make it up. They're just going to make it up as they go because they have to do that now. It was true a year ago, and it's true today. And if anything, it's more true today than it was even a year ago. Events today are proving that I was correct, that they must do this. And now, a year later, they are doing this as fast as they possibly can. And they don't care who knows, and they don't care who's watching, and they don't care what anybody has to say about it. They must destroy climate science. They must demonize climate scientists. They must destroy the data. They must go back. Watch this. And this has already started, by the way, here in the U.S. at least. They must now go back and amend prior publications, prior government publications. They must, and in the U.S. they are doing this. They must amend so that they don't reflect that there's a problem. They are doing that in the U.S. because the U.S. government has control over what publications by the U.S. government say. Therefore, they go back decades and they alter what those reports said because they have to kill climate science. And they have to kill it retroactively. They must kill it back to the Al Gore era. And then they're going to have to go through the internet and strip out everything that the government ever published. Any news, press conferences, anything at all that says there's a problem. They're going to have to get all that stuff off the air. They're going to have to completely change everything. Now, in the novel 1984, this is a big part of how the government controls the narrative. This is called the memory hole. The memory hole, you can look this up on the internet if you want. The memory hole is where you put things that you can't afford to remember. It's even a verb now in modern usage. You memory hole something, or you are memory holing something or someone, because the memory itself is too dangerous. So there's the memory hole, and you have to put things in the memory hole. And the governments of the world, all the governments of the world, there will be no exceptions to this. You think they can't get themselves organized around things? They can organize themselves around this. Oh, just you watch. All the governments of the world must now push climate change as a topic into the memory hole. And let me tell you why they have to do that. Because for all this time, since Al Gore and since before that, they have been sitting on a time bomb. A time bomb that's made out of physics. Now, when I first heard about this when I was a graduate student, in about 1990, I think, or so, 1989 possibly, we discussed this problem as a future problem. Literally, the discussion was hundreds of years from now. This the problems, the changes we're making in the atmosphere with CO2 emissions will eventually change the climate, but 100 years from now, 200 years from now. Then, as people started actually studying it and having frank discussions about it, then it was like, well, actually, it's not that far out. But we're pumping a lot of CO2 into the atmosphere. Yeah, the global economy is kind of going apeshit, burning fossil fuels. So, no, not hundreds of years from now. And actually, research suggests it might be, just a couple of generations from now. That's still a long ways out, by the way. And now, more recently, like in the last few years, observations and science and modeling are now suggesting actually, maybe a decade, we're going to start. And of course, now we have this big fucking El Nino coming. And this is on top of, do I have to do this? Sure, I have to do this. Of course, I have to do this. Back to the ocean heat wave, right? Here it is, folks. Data. Well, we have the data. I mean, we're not going to have the data eventually, right? So today could be the last day you actually see this picture. Imagine that. Well, that's what's happening, folks. This picture will just go away. Doesn't mean the marine heat wave goes away. No, the marine heat wave won't go anywhere. But the data and the visibility into it will vanish. Because it has to. It has to now. When the problem was hundreds of years away, they didn't have to worry about the backlash. When the problem was 100 years away, or 50 years away, or 40 years away, they could still kind of hem and haw and not worry about the backlash. But the problem is here. Now. It's now. The problem is right now. And now they have to, what are they going to do? Now, the last time I did this video, that climate science is over. Climate science is ending. And it doesn't end on one day. Of course, it takes years. They have to slowly defund things and fire these people and reallocate the budget and find another purpose for the money and have the scientists disappear and have them retire and have them die. And it takes a little bit of time, but it's all going to go away. I mean, that has to happen. And the reason why it has to happen is they can't have you know. That's it. They fucked up. Now, maybe they didn't intend to. Maybe they had reasons for not worrying about it, but they didn't worry about it. And even when they had all their IPCC reports, and they had all their COPs, and they had all their conferences, and they had all their research papers, and they had all everything else, symposia, they like, well, whatever, we're studying it, right? That's what we're supposed to do. We're going to study this, we're going to fund grants, we're going to study this, and then we'll figure out what to do. And right now, it's beer o'clock, and so I'm checking out, and I'm going to have a beer. And, low level, low effort, right? But now it's here, because you can't screw around with physics. Now, do we understand that? Here's your marine heat wave. What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this? Here's some physics for you. There it is. Well, okay, what you must do now, what has to happen now? Obviously, what has to happen? It's clear what has to happen. Look at this marine heat wave. Holy smokes, there it is, marine heat wave. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to destroy this satellite that's taking this picture. We can't have this. We must bring this satellite down. We must embargo this data. We must destroy this website. We must destroy all this data. We can't have this. What is this? No, take it down. That's what they do. That's what they do. I mean, they can't stop it, right? It's physics. Do we all understand that we're talking about physics now? Yes, physics. That's gravity, right? The sky is blue. Physics. And physics doesn't care what we want. And physics doesn't care what gets funded. And physics doesn't care if there's anyone looking. It's just going to do what it does. They can't change the marine heat wave. They can't change the Godzilla El Nino that's coming as a consequence. They can't change the global heat wave. They can't change that this is going to sky people. I have to say sky, because if I say DIE, that's going to get me in trouble with the algorithm, right? Because that's the situation we're in right now. This is going to sky people. People are going to sky by the millions, eventually by the billions. You can trust me on this. There's just no way out. There's no way to survive this at some point. People don't survive this. They sky. There's no way out. And of course the politicians know that. Now it's even possible, I will even allow for this, that they've known this for decades. They've got a handle on things. And don't tell me that there hasn't been a conference someplace where the G8 or the Davos bunch or some group of people got together in some smoke-filled room where they're serving 40-year-old scotch, and they're all sitting around drinking their scotch and smoking their cigars. And don't tell me the topic didn't come up. So this global heating, is this real? Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're not doing anything about it. No, we can't afford to. If we touch this, if we stop burning fossil fuels, we implode the global economy. Oh, can't have that. So what happens? Well, we just have to let it go. Okay, but people are going to be upset. People are going to storm the Capitol. People are going to demand that something be done to save them. Yeah, okay, fine. Let them. Fine, they can do that. Yeah, but the last time people stormed the Capitol, that was the French, and then the guillotines came out and they beheaded the monarchy and all the elites. And that's not going to be. We can't have that. Well, don't worry about that. We'll distract them. We'll distract them with culture wars or something. Get them all wound up about immigrants. It'll be fine, And but physics is real. So when people start to notice, oh well, we can control that too. And we don't have to. We don't have to tell them what's happening. We don't have to tell them. Well, yeah, but then people start to sky, and they'll notice that. No, they won't. Look, when someone succumbs to weather, it's a tragedy. Right? It's a flood, it's a heat wave, it's a crop failure, it's a famine. Maybe there's some starvation going on, but people starve all the time, right? People die in floods all the time. People die in the heat all the time. It's no big deal. If they can't attribute it to something we failed to do, if they can't attribute it to the fact that we knew and we did nothing, including we didn't even warn them, if they can't attribute it to us, the elites, as having done something bad, then we don't care. They just sky. They sky. And that's what poor people are supposed to do. And so I can just imagine this talk taking place at Davos, smoking big cigars, drinking the expensive Scotch whiskey and talking about what are they going to do when people start to notice that the Earth is becoming uninhabitable. They're just going to make sure that none of the arrows point back at them. And how do you do that? How do you sanitize the environment so that none of the arrows point back at you as a government, or as an elite, or as a world leader, or as the president, or as the prime minister? You just make sure people don't know. It's really simple. It's very simple. It's the simplest thing they can possibly do. Just make sure people don't know. Make sure they never know what hit them. They never know what hit them. They just can't know what hit them. Now, we've been talking about global heating and climate change, and but people don't know what that means to them personally. They experience the weather, and so long as the changes in the climate never become attributable to changes in the weather, well, then they never connect the dots because they can't. You just can't do it. They're not smart enough. And if you take away the data like this, you just take this away, then what are people going to do? They'll do nothing. Oh, they'll sky. People will sky, and they'll sky by the millions, they'll sky by the billions, but then that's not a problem anymore, is it? That's not a problem. Because people who sky can't complain. And they can't point out to you that you made a mistake. They can't point out to you that you didn't care. They can't point out to you that you're a sociopath in the government because they skied. And people who sky have nothing to say anymore. And so the solution for the governments of the world is to just ignore this, make sure there's no data on it, make sure there's no discussion. Well, now that does mean you have to get rid of the science crowd. Because some of those people are going to want to talk. Now, if they knew which side their bread was buttered on, they'd just zip it up, take their grant money, teach their college classes, go to their symposia, go to their TED Talk, zip it up, mind what's good for you. You know what's good for you. You know what's best. Just zip it up. But some people won't. And then there's a risk. Small risk, because we're managing the message here. No one has seen no one's seeing this anymore. We've taken the satellites down. We've embargoed the data. Anybody who publishes this data is now a domestic terrorist, because that's going to happen too. So we're managing the message, but there's still going to be that person. There's still going to be that person who comes out and says, hey, you people are in trouble. Well, I'm one of those people, right? But I'm easy to get rid of. I've got 143, subscribers to my channel. I'm nothing. No one cares about me. They can just leave me here and just laugh at me. Come on here, watch me rant and rage and poke fingers at me and say he's a dummy. And then if I ever get, following, if I ever get 1 million subscribers and I come on here and do live streams where I'm saying you've been lied to, well, then they can always just black bag me to a black ops site in New Mexico, right? Disappear me. Send me to El Salvador, to a maximum security prison. I'm easy to manage. This kind of shit is also easy to manage. They just defund it. And they make possession of the data a thought crime. Also from the novel 1984. You might want to review your novel 1984. Okay? Just a thought. Just a thought. And focus on things like thought crimes, double speak, memory hole. You might want to. Okay? And while you're buying a copy of 1984, buy a copy of my novel. Because you're screwed. Climate science is dead. It has to be dead. It has to die. Climate science as a practice must be destroyed. And they will do that. And in this way, there won't be any evidence that they overlooked something. They'll memory hole the entire last 50 years. They'll memory hole it. It's going to be real easy because people never understood to begin with. No one understood this. No, I understand it. They can't memory hole me. I know what's going on. I don't even need this data. I don't even need to see the ocean heat wave. I mean, I'll probably be able to figure out how to get the data, but I'm going to dig around and find the data and review the data and say, yep, still there. But I don't need it anymore. Look, here's my analogy. This is a good one, so please pay attention, because this is now predictive. We know how people behave in a crisis. This is now predictive. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, it was a perfectly legitimate and effective strategy that we need to study the water coming into the Titanic. Critical questions. We hit the iceberg. Oh no. Is there water coming in? Is there water coming into the Titanic? Okay, how much? All right. Is there any way to stop this water from coming in? So you asked some really important questions. And then they discovered eventually, it took them a little while. Yeah, there's water coming in. It's a lot. We're estimating it. There's this much per minute or this much per second. And then, so they answered those questions. Yes, there's water coming in. Okay. What's the next question you're going to ask? Oh no, is the Titanic going to sink? It's supposed to be unsinkable, by the way. So they're like, nah, it's not going to sink. But anyway, we'll call the engineers on the telegraph, and we'll call the engineers back at the port. This is the maiden voyage. These people are still employed, right? We'll call the engineers back at port. We'll tell them what's happening, how much water's coming in, where it's coming in at, all these critical things for engineers to know. And they'll get back to us and tell us if the Titanic's going to sink. Well, it's not going to sink, but we'll let them work on it. Oh, no, they just got back to us. It's going to sink, because that's what really happened. Once they sent the data, and the engineers back at England looked at it, and they sent them back, oh, yeah, you're sinking. You're going to sink. And I thought, well, that's not supposed to happen. Well, that's going to happen. Okay, so these questions and these answers were critical at one point, but there's some point at which you stop asking those questions, right? And you stop asking those questions about the time someone comes back to you on the telegraph and says, you're sinking, abandoned ship. Then you can stop asking those questions. Does that make any sense? You've determined, you're way down the decision tree. You've determined that you must abandon ship. You don't really care anymore about how much water's coming in. You know it's coming in. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So that's just going to continue to happen. You might even have more water coming in at some point. Just hydrostatics. You're going to have more water coming in at some point. But it doesn't matter if it's more. It just means you're going to sink sooner, which is another type of problem. You're still sinking. You're just going to sink sooner. And you've also answered the question that you can't fix it. So you're going to sink. So everything's pointing to the same thing. You're going to sink. And now the decision is, can we get off the Titanic? Are there enough lifeboats? Who gets a lifeboat? Who does not? Who goes down with the ship? These were all the questions after you've already done the research. Getting back to the topic, we have enough data to know that this Earth is going to become uninhabitable. You don't want to hear that? You don't like hearing that? Fine, I don't care. I don't care what you think. I don't care what anybody thinks. Physics wins. So you're going to find out. You're going to find out the hard way. Earth becomes, at least large parts of the Earth become uninhabitable for human purposes. If you're a scorpion or a lizard, you probably do fine. We primates, not so much. So we already know that. So given what we know, do we actually need climate science? And I say we do not. We are now at the point where we must abandon ship. That's a whole set of things you got to solve. Once you realize you have to get off this ship, and in the case of climate, that there's a lot of very specific things that we would have to do to abandon ship in terms of the Earth becoming uninhabitable. Oh, Elon Musk's answer is to actually leave the planet. He's trying to get to Mars, right? What do you think that's about? I mean, honestly, what do you think that's about? Why would he want to get his wobbly butt to Mars? Mars is a death trap. People are going to go there and die. Why would he want to go to Mars? We've got this perfectly good planet to hang out on. Because it's not going to be habitable. He knows that. He's a smart guy. He's at least as smart as I am. Maybe a little. No, he's probably not as smart as I am. Yeah, I'm smarter than Elon Musk. Too bad. Well, he's smart enough to know he needs to get away. And Peter Thiel, another one of those tech bro lizards, he just fled to Argentina. I did a video. You think I'm behind it? You know that? You think I don't know what I'm talking about? I did a video. It's been many months now. Where I actually studied and wrote a script and everything for the video. It was so good. I was really doing a good job as a presenter, which I'm not doing today. I did a video about running south, the southern hemisphere. That if the elites suddenly realize that they are screwed, blued, and tattooed, they're going to run away. They're not going to be stuck up here with all these elite middle-class people driving and flying and moving goods and suddenly finding themselves in uninhabitable places. They're not going to hang around with us. They're going to run away. And where they're going to run away is to the southern hemisphere, because it's far away. Now, there's not much land in the southern hemisphere, but what is in the southern hemisphere is New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and the southern tip of South America. Mostly that would be Argentina. Peter Thiel, one of the elite lizards, fled to Argentina. No, he's a rich man. He owns wealthy companies. What is he doing flying away to and living in Argentina? He's scared. He's running away. He's getting away. They're all going to go to Argentina, which, by the way, is also the place where all the Nazis went after the fall of Nazi Germany in the Third Reich. They all went to Argentina. Why? Because it's as far away as you can get from Europe, where the trials were. You see? And Argentina is just corrupt enough that if you go down there with a lot of money, you can buy protection. And you won't be extradited back to Germany to stand trial in 1945. Now, the same bunch of lizards are going to be escaping to Argentina yet again, because they know, as they knew before, that you can buy your way into a secure life. And the Argentines, as long as you have money and you're greasing the right palms, the Argentines will protect you, because that's worked before. So Peter Thiel is now in Argentina, and he will soon be followed by, the usual gang of idiots, right? Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. They'll all end up in Argentina, and they'll all be together, and they'll all smoke cigars, and they'll all drink their expensive Scotch whiskey, and they'll all sit in someone's library and smoke cigars and drink whiskey, and they'll be laughing behind their hand at all of us, because they got away. They got away. They got off the Titanic by going to Argentina. Or the other ones I mentioned in the video. South Africa. Oh, Elon Musk is actually from South Africa. That's his native country. So he could just go back to South Africa, bring his money with him, buy himself a white enclave, and just tough it out. He could easily do that. He has every right in the world to do that. He's from there. But some people will go to Australia. And Australia's not the best choice. Australia is going to burn. Australia's going to burn. Australia's going to burn this year. Well, actually, their summer is my winter. So they won't burn my summer because that's their winter. But when summer comes to Australia, which will be next year, 2027, fall of 2026, winter of 2027, Australia will burn. Not a great place to be. I don't want that for them. But that's just what's going to happen. And they know that. They know that's what happens during an El Nino. And this El Nino is going to be a barnstormer. It's going to be off the charts, folks. It's just, oh God, this is going to hurt so bad. This is going to hurt. You'll never know. You'll never know. They won't let you know. They won't tell you. The news media won't run the stories. They'll never let you understand what's happening to people. And then the day it will come for you. And you won't understand. You won't have the thought in your head, well, this happened in India, and then it happened in Australia, and then it happened in Indonesia. Now, of course, I can't find these places on a map, but I know it happened there. I know lots of people suffered and a lot of people skied, but it's not going to happen to me. Oops, look at the temperature. Oh, no, it's been 2 weeks now. Oh, no, I don't have power. I don't have water. I don't have food. Am I going to sky? And then you sky. Okay, and that's just how it is, folks. Even if you knew those things were happening, you couldn't escape what's going to come for you. But it makes it even easier for you not to know if you never knew what happened someplace else. And if you never knew that there was a big El Nino coming. And if you never knew that there was a global heat wave, and if you never knew that there was an ocean heat wave, and if you never knew that climate change and global heating was real, and if you didn't know that according to science there's going to be large parts of the earth become uninhabitable for human purposes, if you don't know these things, then when the day comes that it's your turn, you just suffer through it, and then you sky. And that's the answer for these people. That's the correct answer for them. You need to have no concerns, no fears, and that means no knowledge that the Titanic is sinking. And then you sky. And that's the answer. It has to be that way for them. And they're making that happen. And they're defunding the NCAR, and they're pulling up the buoys, and they're going to bring down the satellites, and they're going to embargo the data, and they're going to black bag all the scientists, and they're going to get rid of all the science programs. They're going to close the universities, and they're going to intimidate the universities, and they're going to shut down all the research projects around climate. They're going to bring back all the scientists from the Arctic and the Antarctic. They're going to get rid of the research center on the top of Greenland. They're going to put all these things to bed. They're going to defund them. They're going to, anybody complains, they're going to go to prison. They're going to create terror laws that if you talk about scary things, you're a domestic terrorist just for talking about scary things. Just the conversation I've had right here. This conversation will get me in the future labeled a domestic terrorist. And before that day comes, I'm going to stop doing this. Stop doing this. There's no reason for me to do this if I'm going to get labeled a domestic terrorist. I shut down my channel. I take the videos down. I scrub all this off of the internet, and at least as far as public availability, and then I just hope no one comes after me. as a domestic terrorist, because that's what's going to happen. I'm writing my second novel called Ariadne, and one of the themes in that novel is that exactly all these things happen. All these things happen, as I've described here. All the climate data is retracted. All the old papers are edited or disappeared. People who continue to talk about this become labeled domestic terrorists and are either thrown in prison or are simply killed outright. That's in my novel. Spoiler alert! I'm spoiling the novel. You're never going to read it. You know that. I know that. That's what's happening. It's all real life. The novel is fiction, but it's a documentary. That's what it is. So I have to stop doing this. I kind of have, and I will continue to not do this. I will do it less often than I do it now, and I will do it. I will just stop doing it, and this channel will disappear, as it must, because I don't want to be labeled a domestic terrorist. So where does all this go? Keep an eye. There's nothing you can do about this. There's nothing I can do about this. They are going to defund climate science and destroy climate science. They're going to do that. What can you do about it? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. Don't even try. It's not worth getting yourself in trouble with the government, getting on a watch list, being labeled a domestic terrorist. It's just not worth it for you to get upset about this and have to do something about this. It's not worth it. Don't do it. I'm going to stop doing it. There's no good reason for me to do these things. And then what happens? Then the earth becomes uninhabitable. The equivalent to the Titanic finally sinking. The earth becomes uninhabitable because it must. Therefore, it will. Because physics. Not because I said so. Not because I want it to be that way. Because it is. That's what happens. And they don't want you to know. And they have all the control. And they will destroy climate science. Because they have to destroy climate science. They must do this. They must now do this. For their own survival. They can't have this out there in the public. And they have all the control over what is in the public. They defund it. They tear down the ocean observatory. They tear up the Jason buoys. They bring down the satellites. They embargo the data. They get rid of the websites. They empty all the scientists and all the government departments. They defund the universities. They just go at it like this, just as hard and as heavy as they can, just smashing everything with a hammer. Go away. Stop. Don't talk about it. Hammer, 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 hammer. Do something else. Disappear. Retire. Hammer, hammer. They're going to break everything as fast as they can. Because the end is nigh. There you go. Now I'm sounding like a preacher. John the Baptist coming in from the wilderness. The end is nigh. Well, it is. Not because I said so. Because of physics. That's how this shit works, folks. Physics isn't listening to me. I'm listening to physics. And this isn't going to continue. Because it can't. And what's going to happen is that lots of people sky. And as that happens, people are going to be terrified. And the government can't let you know that they had anything to do with this. Even in just being completely corrupt and feckless and unconcerned. Even if they don't do something with their hands, they did something by not doing anything. And they can't have that be the discussion. They can't have that be the truth. They can't have their fingerprints on any of this. So all they have to do is just make it all disappear. And they can do that. And they are doing that. And I'll be back here a year from now. If I'm not labeled a domestic terrorist in the meantime, I'll be back here a year from now and say, see, I told you. They were going to have to do this. And it's been a year. It's now 2027. And it's been a year since the last time I did this video. And it's been done. That's what I'm going to say a year from now. And you're going to say, yeah, you were right. What can I do about it? Nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. You just have to stand by and watch. And if you were someone aboard the Titanic, and then you might want to try to get off. And in this case, since you're human, you're living on Earth, you might try to save yourself from all of this that's coming. If you're Peter Thiel, you've already moved to Argentina. You see? Because that's what they're going to do. And what are you going to do? You're not going to move to Argentina. I mean, maybe you will. Maybe you'll take a clue from the rich people, and maybe you'll also move to Argentina. I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe you will. But most people won't. Right? Just like most people on the Titanic didn't get a lifeboat. Right? That's how that worked out. That's why that's still talked about in the history books, folks. Lots of people died. Right? What's your fate? I don't know. That's up to you, isn't it? Maybe it's up to you. Maybe it's not up to you. Maybe you have no choice. Maybe you have no future. Maybe you have no hope. I don't know. I just don't know. But it's coming. And they don't want you to know. So that's what I have on that. Enough. I'm already on a watch list somewhere. The Trump administration is going to come for me. And eventually I'm not going to be here. I'm just not going to be here, folks. I'm not going to bang on this drum if it's going to get me in trouble. Right? You understand that part, right? I'm not going to be here. Because that's how this works. Here at the end of the world. My advice to you is, whether I'm here or not, your responsibility is to not sky.